Hello friends, in this series of the videos, we are talking about hypersensitivity. In my last three videos, I discussed about type 1 and type 2 hypersensitivity reaction, which is induced by IgE antibody and IgG antibody respectively. In this video, I am going to discuss about type 3 hypersensitivity reaction, which is induced by immune complex. Before starting with the actual reaction, we have to discuss about immune complex. When any antigen enter inside the body, it ultimately activate B cell and T cell, that is B lymphocyte and T lymphocyte. After activation, B lymphocyte divide into plasma cell and memory cell, and the plasma cell will going to produce antibody against that particular antigen. So once the antibody is produced and released inside the blood circulation by B cell or plasma cell, that antibody directly get attached to the antigen, and due to attachment of the antibody with the antigen antibody complex are produced, and if the antigen cross link different antibody molecule, in that case, antigen antibody complex is produced, and this antigen antibody complex is called as immune complex. Depending upon the size of antigen and the quantity of antigen which is enter inside the body, the size of immune complex or antigen antibody complex get varied. Okay, once the antigen is clear from the body by the attack of the immune system, this antigen antibody complex or the immune complex is neutralized or get eliminated with the action of phagocytic cell. Okay, that means this antigen antibody complex is produced after antigen entry and disappear after antigen eliminate from the body. Okay, but at the time of type 3 hypersensitivity reaction, these complexes produced during the reaction of the immune system get deposited in different sites of the body like blood vessels, glomeruli of the kidney or synovial joints, that lead to inflammation and necrosis and tissue damage to the host cell, which is nothing but the type 3 hypersensitivity reaction. Actually, the reaction occur in three distinct stages. Type 3 reaction occur in three separate stages inside the body. First stage is formation of the immune complex. Once antigen get entry inside the body, or due to autoimmunity which is produced against the self antigen, when antibody get attached to the antigen, immune complex is produced. This is the stage number 1 in type 1 hypersensitivity. Once immune complex is produced, then the complex produced gets deposited at different sites in the body. As I said, they get deposited in the kidney or in the tissue of the skin or inside the synovial joints. Generally, the complex get deposited where the blood pressure is high. Okay, like in the kidney where due to the filtration pressure, this complex can easily get deposited in the glomeruli. Okay, after deposition of the complex, immune system try to eliminate these antigen antibody complexes by recruiting different phagocytic cell or neutrophil at the site of deposition, which ultimately lead to inflammation and tissue injury. So these three are the important stages of type 2 hypersensitivity reaction. When any antigen enter inside the body, if antigen antibody complex formed is deposited at the site of antigen entry, then it will going to lead localized reaction of type 3 hypersensitivity. But if the antigen concentration is too high and the immune complex found inside the blood circulation, in that case the hypersensitivity reaction can observe anywhere in the body, and it is called as generalized reaction. Localized reaction generally occur at the site of entry of the antigen, while generalized reaction occur anywhere inside the circulatory system or inside the body. Now localized reaction is characterized by different type of conditions. Well-known examples of localized reaction is Arthus reaction, which is the type of a inflammatory reaction that occur at the site of entry of the antigen due to the excessive production of the lytic enzyme by neutrophilic cell. I'm going to discuss about this Arthus reaction in detail. The next example of localized reaction is farmer's lungs. This type of reaction occur due to inhalation of Thermophilus actinomyces strain that ultimately lead to a characteristic type 3 hypersensitivity. The generalized reaction include SLE, that is systemic lupus erythematosus, which is autoimmune disorder, the classic example of type 3 hypersensitivity. Then another example of generalized reaction is RA, that is rheumatoid arthritis, in which the immune complex get deposited in the synovial joint that lead to swelling and difficulty in the movement. Then third example of the generalized reaction is a serum sickness, the condition that occur when the antibodies which is produced inside the other animal is administered for the passive response, which is it is called as artificial passive response, which is take at the time of snake bite. And due to this antibody, sometime the antibody itself act as antigen, and our immune system going to induce high amount of immune response against the administered antibody that lead to serum sickness. The symptoms of the serum sickness include chill, fever, joint pain. Okay, and the last example of generalized reaction is streptococcal glomerulonephritis. It is the condition that occur due to streptococcus infection of the throat, a bacterium that infect throat, and after the infection, after the recovery due to attack of the immune system, sometime some antigen of the streptococcus bacterium remain in the circulation, and these antigens of the bacterium look similar with the antigen of the glomeruli of the kidney, and due to which some antibody which is produced against the bacterial antigen mistakenly attack the glomeruli of the kidney, that will going to produce a condition called post streptococcal glomerulonephritis. This is happened due to molecular mimicry. The antigen of the bacterium streptococci mimic the structure of antigen of the glomeruli of the kidney. Okay, so in this lecture, I am going to discuss one example of the localized reaction, that is Arthus reaction in detail, and one example of generalized reaction, that is systemic lupus erythematosus in detail. In case of Arthus reaction, when if the antigen is injected by intradermally or subcutaneously into the skin, once the antigen get entry inside the skin, it will going to activate the immune system, and if the person having high amount of antibody against that particular antigen, that antibody attack the antigen which will going to produce immune complex at the site of entry of the antigen, and this complex get deposited near the site of entry of antigen, so it is called as localized reaction. Once this antigen antibody complex get deposited, the antibody activate the complement system. We know that the important component of the complement system is C3A, and now once this C3A is produced, some of the C3A will going to coat the antigen antibody complex itself, while other components of the complement system like C3A, C4A and C5A will going to act on the mast cell, and due to action of this complement component on the mast cell, degranulation of the mast cell occur. Component or the cytokine like histamine released in the tissue space. This histamine act on the blood vessel, and due to action of the histamine, permeability of the blood vessel increases, and many neutrophils come out of the new blood vessels into the tissue space. This is neutrophil cell. And once this neutrophil enter in the tissue space due to action of histamine produced by the mast cell, now this neutrophil is attracted by complement component like C3A, C5A, C5B, 6, 7. And due to this chemo attraction, the neutrophil cell migrate towards the immune complex which is produced at the site of antigen entry. Once this neutrophil cell reach at the site of immune complex, the neutrophil cell try to phagocyte or try to engulf the immune complex, but due to coating of the C3b and attachment, the cell unable to engulf this immune complex, and finally due to which the cell start producing hydrolytic enzyme like lytic enzyme. Excess production of the lytic enzyme at the site of immune complex lead to swelling, necrosis and redness at the site of entry of the antigen. The condition is symptoms of Arthur's reaction, okay, that lead to edema and erythema. Edema means accumulation of fluid at the site, while erythema means accumulation of red blood cell in the site, which lead to redness and swelling. Okay, this is all about the example of localized type 3 reaction. Generalized reaction include systemic lupus erythematosus. It is the autoimmune condition, autoimmune disease that is occur due to production of the autoantibody against the self molecule or self antigen like DNA, histone, lymphocyte, platelet or RBC. Tolerance of the immune system is breakdown due to some unknown reason, and own antibody start targeting own antigens, and due to which systemic lupus erythematosus occur. Okay, due to action of the self antibody against the lymphocytes, the number of circulating lymphocyte decrease, which lead to condition called lymphocytopenia. Due to attack of the autoantibody on the RBC, number of RBC also decrease, which is called as hemolytic anemia. Sometimes this self-antigen antibody complex get deposited in the blood vessels, and due to which condition occur called vasculitis. And we know that due to decreasing number of thrombocytes or platelet due to action of autoantibody, condition occur called thrombocytopenia. This is the systemic lupus erythematosus. Post-streptococcal glomerulonephritis and serum sickness is also an important example of type 3 hypersensitivity. In my next lecture, I am going to discuss about type 4 hypersensitivity, which is the last type of hypersensitivity reaction. Thank you.